yet another exciting video in your agile journey, Accountabilities in Scrum. I welcome all of you on board Let's Go Agile. My name is Sanjit Bhattacharya and I am your agile learning partner. So without any further ado, let's jump right into what are accountabilities. Simply put, in Scrum, accountabilities are nothing but the roles of Scrum. It must be clearly understood that this roles, as described by the Scrum Guide, encompasses only a few roles. But there is a wider aspect when we talk about how and when these roles are applicable. There are people outside the gambit of the Scrum Guide who are accountable for various things. As always, I will be using a lot of references from the Scrum Guide, and you will see an footer on every screen wherever I use any such thing. So talking about the accountabilities in Scrum, what does the Scrum Guide say? The Scrum Guide says that the fundamental unit of Scrum is a small team of people, a Scrum team. The Scrum team consists of one Scrum Master, one Product Owner, and developers. Within a Scrum team, there are no sub-teams or hierarchies. It is a cohesive unit of professionals focused on one objective at that time. And that objective is nothing but the product goal. Now it is important here to understand that the Scrum team as a unit we know, and there are three important accountabilities that we will be talking about from the Scrum Guide, and they are the Scrum Master, the Product Owner, and the developers. So let's dive right into each of these roles and see what we have. So let's talk about the very first accountability, that of a Scrum Master. The Scrum Guide says that the Scrum Master is accountable for establishing Scrum as defined in the Scrum Guide. They do this by helping everyone understand Scrum theory and practice, both within the Scrum team and the organization. And my friends, this is very important to understand that Scrum Master is not only restricted to a particular Scrum team, but is also responsible and has some duties and responsibilities towards the organization as well. All right, so Scrum Master's key thing is helping. Yes, that is the most interesting thing about a Scrum Master. Well, there was a term called servant leader, which was used in the earlier versions of the Scrum Guide, but somehow that term has been dropped in the current versions of the Scrum Guide. But I still do use that term because I love it, and I sincerely believe that to be able to be a good Scrum Master, servant leadership must be one of the topmost things on the agenda of a Scrum Master. The Scrum Master does a lot of help and service to the team, and these are 4 pointers by which they do that. Coaching the team members in self-management and cross-functionality, helping the Scrum team focus on creating high-value increments that meet the definition of done. When they focus and they do not have impediments, they are collaborating in a way they should. That is how what the Scrum Master facilitates, and that enables the team to meet the definition of done. Next is causing the removal of impediments or to the Scrum team's progress, and the last one is ensuring that all Scrum events take place and are positive, productive, and kept within the time box. Now this is very important, that Scrum Master is not only supposed to facilitate the events and then just tick mark the checkbox and say yes, the events are done. No, that's not how the Scrum Master needs to work. The Scrum Master also needs to ensure that all these Scrum events, which we will be talking about later, are positive, productive, and the time box is respected. The Scrum Master does not only play an important role within the team, but she also serves the organization in many ways that includes leading, training, and coaching the organization in Scrum adoption. All right, let us now talk about the second accountability as per the Scrum Guide, which is that of a product owner. The product owner is accountable for maximizing the value of product resulting from the work of a Scrum team. How this would be done may vary widely across organizations, teams, and individuals. The key word here is maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of a Scrum team. Yes, my friends, that is the key role of a product owner apart from prioritization of the product backlog. The product owner is also accountable for effective product backlog management, which includes these things: developing and explicitly communicating the product goal, creating and clearly communicating product backlog items, ordering the product backlog items, and ensuring that the product backlog is transparent, visible, and understood. Now, very funny thing that we do not have product backlog prioritization in four of these items, and that is because you see you can have more than one priority items on the product backlog with the same priority. Okay, so that is when the product owner steps in and sees that, okay, if I have 5 items with topmost priority, say priority 1, then how do I pick them up in the sprint is what is known as something called ordering, and that is what the third point talks about. And of course, ensuring that the product backlog is transparent, visible, and understood. See, if there is something which is not clearly understood, how it is done, we do not know, the vision is not clear about the product, then the development will definitely go for a toss, and that is what a product owner must avoid at all in all cases. There is something called invest criteria, which determines how features are converted into stories or requirements into the product backlog. We will talk about that in a separate video. But for now, that is what the product owner does in terms of product backlog management. Even if the product owner decides to delegate some of these accountabilities, she still remains responsible for all of this. It is important to note that for a product owner to succeed, her decisions must be respected and the product owner must be empowered. Product owner must have the ultimate say in feature inclusion or even on releases that happen. It won't be an exaggeration to say or call the product owner to be the CEO of the product. Well, this brings us to the third accountability, and that is of the developers. The developers are the people in the Scrum team that are committed to creating any aspect of a usable increment each sprint. The specific skills needed by the developers are often broad and will vary with the domain of work. Now, when we say the specific skills needed by the developers are often broad, it again takes us back to the concept of a Scrum team being a self-organizing and a cross-functional team, where that is important because unless a Scrum team is a cross-functional team, the dependency on somebody external to the team increases, and that may cause impediments, and that's something very important. Well, let's not digress from what we were talking about. So when we say this, see, the things to be noted here is that creating any aspect of usable increment is what is the key role of the developers. Now, these are a few responsibilities of the developers that they are accountable for, that is creating the plan for the sprint or the sprint backlog, instilling quality by adhering to DOD or the definition of done, and adapting their plan each day towards the sprint goal while holding each other accountable as professionals. It's a very important point, that is the point number 3, which says about adapting. Now in Scrum, inspect and adapt plays a very crucial role. And when we talk about events, we will talk about something called retrospective, something called daily Scrum, which will further help us understand what inspect and adapt is all about. But adapting to changing requirements is one of the fundamentals of Agile and Scrum. That is exactly what we are talking about. Now, one thing must be very clearly understood, that when we use the term developers, this is actually a cover word that includes the coding people, testing guys, development, deployment, database, everything comes under the umbrella of developers while referring to a Scrum team. All right, let's sum it up. We have been talking about the accountabilities in Scrum, And there are of three types: the Scrum Master, the Product Owner, and the developers. There is still one very important accountability that does not get covered in the Scrum guide and we haven't talked about, but in practical world that's of very crucial importance, and that is of the management. Yes, so management is something which we will be definitely covering in one of our another videos, and will shortly come up with this video also about the accountabilities of management in Scrum. That is something that we will be covering up very shortly. Well, that was all that we had in today's video here. I hope it made some sense and you would find the content in this video helpful. Please do consider subscribing us if you haven't done yet, and hit that bell icon to get notifications on new videos on our channel. Do let us know in the comments section below about how you like this video and what all do you want to see on this channel in future. Till we meet again, stay happy, stay healthy, and together, let's go agile.